people are blaming their own situation on things over which they frequently have no control. The economy is terrible. My company's rates are too high. Underwriting in my company is the pits. The management in my agency isn't worth a damn. In this community, everything is going to heck in a tea basket. The world is in terrible shape. People can do better with their money elsewhere. I can't give them the highest rate of return. I can't and it goes on and on and on. Problem with that is though some people are saying that, in sometimes the same office, in the same company at the very next desk, there's someone tearing the patch apart. They're doing all kinds of business in this terrible environment. Now, what's the difference? Well, the analogy, and I will pick on a couple of folks in the front row here if they don't mind. We have Tom and Rand and Damien. Tom, Rand, and Damien are three people, and we're going to now make up this part that came from three different parts of the United States. Tom was a farm boy. He grew up on a farm, and he used to be out in the days like when I was a farmer, way back when I was younger, and we didn't have machines. We pitched hay with a fork. And we'd have to get the hay into the barn by putting it up on the wagon, and the horses would pull the hay to the barn. You had to get it in before it rained, and we'd be pitching away. And all of a sudden, right down in the middle of that little stack of hay we're picking up, there's a snake. Well, there's snakes all over the place when you're farmers, so what you do is you take the fork and you toss away. Heck with the snake, got to get the hay in the barn. Snake was of no great concern. Now, Rand, totally opposite world. Rand was born in the Okefenokee swamps down in the southeastern part of the United States. And Rand had nothing to play with when he was a kid but snakes and alligators. His greatest pleasure was snakes. He kept them in cages. He loved them. His greatest pleasure. He had cottonmouth moccasins and rattlesnakes and a lot of harmless snakes. And God, he loved snakes. It was his life. Every time he saw a snake, he went into a frenzy of, oh, great, look at the snake. Now, Damien, on the other hand, Damien was a city boy. And Damien was raised in downtown San Francisco, and his only idea of snakes was when he see them on television or in the movies, and he's scared to death of snakes. My God, snake! Now, each of them were born with probably only two fears. Fear of falling and the fear of loud noise. Everything else that happens to a human being afterwards is not a God-given. They adopt it. They adopt it by the environment in which they live. Now, if one day, and I've never really done this, but maybe I should today, but I didn't bring one with me, I dropped a snake right there. Harmless or poisonous, doesn't matter. Immediately in the front row, I'd get three totally different reactions. Tom would be saying, come on, Norman, cut out kidding around. Get the darn snake out of here. Get on with the meeting. We came for a meeting. Rand would be on the floor having an orgy. He'd be ecstatic. My God, look at that beautiful snake. And he'd be having a ball. Damien would be on the chair. Ah, Norman, get it out of here, snake. And all three of them would be blaming that little snake for their reaction. And the snake, frankly, wouldn't have given a darn. Snake didn't know what was going on. It was just wiggling across the floor, minding its own business. Yet three adult, mature, intelligent individuals would have had three totally different reactions. Not because of the snake, really, but because of their perception of a snake, which they learned. It's up here. They got it after they got born. They developed a hate, a fear, a love, a concern for snakes. It's their perception. Now, I don't think there's anybody that ever hears that story that doesn't recognize the truth in it. It is a fact. Some of you have been through traumas in the industry. Some of you have been through traumas in your marriage or your finances or your physical conditions. Everybody has a story to tell. Nobody goes from birth to death without a story to tell. And the accumulation of those stories become perceptions. And you react based on what you are thinking because of perception. And I am respectfully suggesting that that snake can be the economy. It can be competition, it can be the company, It can be finances, it can be health, it can be family, it can be anything. And the way you react is purely a matter of choice, although after a while it becomes a compulsive choice. But if you learned it in the first place, you can unlearn it and replace it. And those of us on this planet that are somewhat restrained by our own self-fulfilling prophecies and our own limitations should occasionally think of that snake and recognize that snake is nothing but a perception. Our reaction is not the snake, it's what we think the snake is. And so it applies to everything in our life. And if we're not all we want to be, let me respectfully suggest it is by our own choice. We can be anything we want to be. The price is getting control of our own mind and our own destiny and starting to think positive thoughts instead of negative thoughts, and the glass is half full instead of half empty, and going out and doing something about it. Now, I think that's a frightfully important story when you combine it with the minister story, what I started this session with, when I'm suggesting to you every human being with God-given gift is given the opportunity to make anything out of their life they want. Many people will spend their entire life in mediocrity or less than they're capable of being because of the perceptions of a snake and because we will not pay the price for doing the things that aren't easy, but that are certainly within our power to do it. Dr. Gray, some of you read his Common Denominator of Success booklet, which was nothing but an excerpt of a speech he gave a long, long time ago. Said it better than I could. He said the only difference between successful and unsuccessful people in our business is that successful people will do the things unsuccessful people won't do. Not can't do, won't do. And that is purely a matter of our own commitment and choice, and that's what we're going to be talking about. Now, if we're going to do it, how do you do it? Where does it begin? How do you get from where we are to where we want to go? Let me respectfully suggest to start with that you're going to hear some things that you may have already dismissed as corn. Well, I've heard all that before, there's nothing new to it, because the first thing I'm going to tell you is that I don't know a single great producer that doesn't live with a goal as their motivation. But it's not a goal that they've accepted to patronize their general agent or manager. It's not a goal they've taken to tell their wife or their husband how great they're going to be. It's not a goal they take for somebody else. It's something they really want. Now, if you doubt it, I could say to everybody in this audience and say, hey, tell me your goal. And you know what I'm going to hear if I get honest answers from a lot of people is, I don't have a goal. I don't know what I want to do. I want to be successful, but. Let me suggest to you, every person I've ever talked to, one-on-one, when they say that to me and I nail them, have a goal. The trouble is they don't realize the goal sometimes is counterproductive to what it is they're verbalizing that they want to do. They'll all say, well, I want to be successful and make a lot of money. And then you'll nail them and you'll start saying, well, what do you really want? Well, I'd like 4-day weekends and 6-hour days, and I'd like to retire at 45, and I'd like to become the best skier in the entire community, or the best golfer, or the best tennis player. I want to work on the nicest cars. I want to have the greatest garden. Everybody got a thing, and what they don't realize, that's their goal. And they're living to that goal and verbalizing one that they don't totally mean. Now, that's tough, and I understand it. One of the reasons an awful lot of people are not as successful as they say they'd like to be is that is not the goal. There is a bigger goal. The vice president that I knew many years ago used the expression, be careful of what you really want, because you'll surely get it. Now, we want a lot of things, but we do what we really want. Now, I'm suggesting that if you think through career goals, and please each of you think about it for a moment, it makes everything else happen. If you're really successful in this greatest of all business, you have independence. You have free time. You have unlimited income, because $500,000 a year is not an absurd expectation in this business, if you're talking income. You have the respect in the community. You have the respect of your peers. You have the respect of your family. Bottom line is, this industry, successful career people have the power to do anything. Politics, charitable work, family, money, home, time. It's the people who are average and mediocre that are frustrated reaching their goals. You want to be the greatest skier, that is not in conflict with being a great life insurance person. You want to build a big house or have a big dream, not inconsistent. You want to travel. This business can allow you to do anything you want to do once you have earned the right through success. Now, for that reason, some of us have decided that the first goal that makes all the other goals happen has got to be the one that will give us financial independence, the one that will give us the right to do anything we want to do. Now, when you sit down at the beginning of the year or in the middle of the year and you say, I'm going to make a goal, but I'm going to do it for him, for my manager, for my wife, for my whatever, that's not a goal. You've got to feel it in here. You've got to want it. It's the kind of thing that's got to churn in your gut because Friday comes and you haven't done it. But what frequently happens is people will make a goal, and when Friday comes, they take off for a 3-day weekend. Now, there's an inconsistency, and it creates a self-fulfilling prophecy. You're never going to be great, by choice. But supposing we could just flip that a little bit, and everybody that hears my voice right now would reevaluate, what do you really want to do with your life? Why not be financially independent? Why not be able to do anything? Why not be able to take months every year off? Why not be able to walk down the street and everybody want to shake your hand? Why not be able to influence the destiny of your community and the country or some specific interest that you've got? What's wrong with that? Why is that inconsistent with all your other dreams? The key to that'll unlock the lock, is a successful career generating unlimited income, which gives you the freedom to do anything you want, because unlike any other business, this is one where you can dictate who you do business with, when you do business, where you go, what you do, where you live. It's all there. Now, the first step, therefore, I'd respectfully suggest is, what do you really want? And if it's career-related, can you quantify it? Can you get it so you say, this is what I want to do? Short-term, long-term, 1992, 1993, whatever year it happens to be, and every year thereafter. Long-term, short-term. Once you've identified a goal, the next step is right in the textbooks. First, you got to get past that barrier of, I don't have a goal, Norm. Yes, you do. Now let's quantify it. Now let's identify it. The next step is, what are you going to do to make it happen? You not have to have a plan. It's got to be broken down. In the greatest in the business, the Ben Feldmans and everybody says, don't think big years, don't think 6 months, don't think one, think down to a week or a day. What are you going to do every working day? Now, for my life, I have figured out I don't want to work 12 months a year, and I don't anymore. One time I did, now I don't. I take time off, a lot of time off, a lot of things I want to do, but I know what I got to do in a given day. I have a things to do today list every place I go. Today I know what I got to do, and we'll be getting to that. So you make the goal, and then you have to make a plan. Then the third thing you got to do is you got to put the plan in action. Now, if you're human, don't be embarrassed by no one like everyone else. New Year's resolutions are good January 1st. Most of them are broken by the 2nd. They're all broken by the 5th. What I'm asking you to do today, what I'm asking you to think about today, is to begin to implement that plan in daily and weekly amounts, and then add a fourth piece. Don't just implement it. Set up a monitoring system. I don't know if it's going to be your spouse or it's going to be an associate in the office. We have a gentleman sitting here in the audience today that I've known for a lot of years. And I can remember when he first started this, he had a problem doing it. And then he sat down and shared it with his wife. And his wife knew exactly what he was supposed to do every day. And he'd come home, and he's smiling at me now, but he'd come home every night and she'd say, did you? And she had a checklist. And I think he got a cookie if he was a good boy at night. And if he didn't do it, he didn't get the cookie. But he changed from an average producer to a top producer because somebody was watching and making him measure up to his admitted, committed plan, which he was beginning to implement. I don't care how you do it, but don't presume that any human being is strong enough to do it completely by their own. I don't know anyone that doesn't need some outside influence to impact on it, so you've got to do that. Now, let me tell you why a lot of people don't get to this point. There are no free lunches. And one of the problems we have is that, and this is a cute expression I heard at a meeting I was at the other day, if we always continue to do what we've always done, we will always be what we already are. Which is another way of saying, my friends, that if you keep doing what you're doing and you're not happy with the way things are today, presume you're not going to be happy with the way they are tomorrow, because unless you change, nothing is going to change. If you're not comfortable with your income, if you're not comfortable with your level of success, if you don't feel you're getting full self-actualization and the pleasures of life, presume 10 years from now, nothing is going to change if you keep doing what you've been doing. The price of anything happening worthwhile is change. And you can always rationalize and defend, we got to understand, Norman, I only work big cases, or I only go after the more sophisticated client, or I don't want to get my hands dirty with all this. That is frequently a rationalization to protect you from something you don't enjoy doing. And it is not really logical, and it is not something that makes sense in terms of your planning. It's just comfortable. The problem with change is you've got to be uncomfortable. Now what happens is, on the one hand, there's something you want and it's got a price tag. Study, working harder, intensity, more aggressive, more disciplined, more systems. And on the other hand, you've got the price, but the benefit, what you're going to get if you do that, is all of the prestige and the self-esteem and reward I've been alluding to. The price is here. The reward is there. Most people in their mind are shopping every day of their life. They're looking at a commodity, success, self-esteem, position in the community, whatever, and then they're looking at the price tag. They pick it up and they take a look and see what the price is on the sleeve. And the price sometimes is, my God, that's too high. I don't want to work that hard. I don't want to have to do those things. Well, if you won't pay the price, you ain't going to get the benefit. And it's a trade-off. Well, maybe I'll pay half the price and get half the benefit. Okay, I don't mind. All I'm asking everyone that ever hears me to recognize is they are self-fulfilling prophecies, and we are what we've chosen to be. And there's no reason we couldn't be more, but yes, you got to change. The $1 Million Roundtable some time ago, they had a speaker, I don't remember his name, but he got up and he said life is a whole matter of comfort zones. He said people are used to being where they are. And most people are pretty comfortable in the field of mediocrity. He said it's like a thermostat that turns the heat on and off. People don't get turned on and off precisely at 65 or 70 degrees if that's what it's set at. What happens if it's the winter time? The thermostat waits not until 70 if you got it set at 70, but it'll go to 69, 68. Somewhere in there it kicks it on. Then the heat comes on and it slowly goes up. It doesn't turn off at 70. It turns off at 71 or 72. And then it turns off and it goes down. It averages 70. That's life. People are like that, he said. He said people are used to being mediocre. And they don't want to do it. When they reach the outer limits of the thermostat, they freeze. They're out of their comfort zone. When they drop down below 68, they freeze. Now, the company says, to give you an example, have you ever looked in the listings of the leaders in a golf tournament on a 3-day tournament? First day, some guy is leading the tournament you never heard of. Joe Schmo, #1, he's leading. Never led in his life. They interview him on TV. Well, they're doing pretty good, and I'm going to keep going. I'm going to give him my best shot. He goes to sleep that night. He got butterflies in his gut. He can't stand it. What the heck am I doing here? I don't belong #1. And he gets up the next day, and miracle of miracles, he somehow psychs himself, and he gets out there, and he